This is Beyond the Bench with Nick Morgasen and Nick Fodera. A look at sports and pop culture from beyond common sense. The show that constantly goes off the rails and might never get back on. When you don't belong, you're a bench warmer. On this show, there's no riding the bench. This is Beyond the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Beyond the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, presented by Knack Bags. Episode 24, right, Nick?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I'm losing track. I think it's that brain fog that I was telling you about earlier.
Oh, God, please don't.
But follow us on social media, on Twitter, at Beyond the Bench 1. Follow us on Facebook. Facebook.com/BeyondTheBench1, and the one I keep forgetting to put up here. We're now on Instagram, also at Beyond the Bench 1, and also follow us on the podcast network at ETV Network. And like I said, presented by Knack Bags. If I can reach down here and do my Vanna White impression. Here we go.
That's right, Knack Bags. Endlessly adaptable, endlessly customizable, endlessly stylish. Go anywhere with a Knack bag. It's the one bag life. Why aren't you living it?
Right. And make sure when you go to checkout, when you buy a bag, make sure you use the code BEYOND, BEYOND at checkout. Put the TSA-approved lock in your cart. $15 value for free when you buy a Knack bag. Okay. So, Nick, how was your week?
So I've had myself a bit of an interesting couple of days, but we'll get more into that later.
No falls included, right?
No falls included. No. So
so let's get into quickly. We'll do a quick rundown of what's coming up in this episode. Elon Musk back in the news. A little birdie told me,
and for an even dumber reason.
Well, like I said, a little carrier pigeon might have told me something. Hint, hint. Burger King. Accused of false advertising in a lawsuit. That's
Nobody's
a Whopper.
Nobody's having it their way.
Well, I was going to say that's a Whopper of a story, but we'll get to that as well. Denzel Washington weighs in on the Will Smith Chris Rock slap incident from the Oscars. It's been an interesting time since that's happened. A lot of interesting things have happened.
It has.
We'll also get into. I watched a small amount of the Grammys. I think that's more your thing than my thing. But I did see some of the big names that did some performances. And let's see. Selena Gomez reveals something that I don't believe. We'll get into that. And what is TikTok brain and is it real? So we have a lot to get into. We have about an hour or so to cover it. Let's get going. So Elon Musk joins the Twitter's board.
So by board, he means board of directors.
Yes.
So it's not that there's a wooden board and then he just stands on top of it. No, that would actually be useful. What this is a phenomenal. I don't want to say it's farting on all of us, but it's definitely in the neighborhood because for those of you who don't know. Elon Musk, the billionaire who made most of his money because his family owned a diamond mine in South Africa, and he did not start Tesla, by the way. He did not found the company, nor does he create the cars.
No, he just bought it.
No, he just bought it. He has been railing in between, rants about political figures and memes that don't make any sense and aren't funny. He's been railing about free speech. Free speech. I should be able to say whatever I want, whenever I want. Violation of First Amendment this, First Amendment that, First Amendment every which way. So in an effort to foster free speech, quote unquote, he decides to buy out 9% of Twitter.
Well, it's not buy out. You just mean buy. But yes.
Buy 9% of Twitter. Take control of it. which would make him the largest,
The majority stakeholder.
the majority stakeholder in Twitter Inc.
That's
And-
kind of scary to me, partially, that 9.2%.
It is scary, and he's going on about all these things about having an edit button, and we shouldn't be able to censor people.
By the way, we'll get into the whole censor thing. I agree with the edit button, because every other social media, Facebook, Instagram, and others have edit buttons. Twitter is the only one that doesn't.
Yes, I understand that's a good idea, but it's you're obtaining it the worst way. You're obtaining it by having Elon Musk join the board.
Oh no, they should have done this way before Elon Musk joined the board.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And Elon Musk, and first of all, the only reason that they entertain this at all, cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Okay, he's a name. He's got deep pockets, and to Twitter, any publicity is good publicity. Even though Donald Trump spent 5 years turning it into his personal brain-sucking playground. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this several times throughout the podcasts that I've hosted on the ETB network, and even going back to the Unspoken Podcast days, but it bears repeating here. Twitter censoring you is not a violation of the First Amendment.
It's not. It really is not.
The First Amendment only means that the government cannot throw you in jail.
Right.
Twitter, as a private institution,
can do what they want.
So when Elon Musk talks about free speech and censoring people, Twitter is well within its rights to do whatever the fuck it wants. So, ladies and gentlemen, he is talking about a problem. He's talking about a solution in search of a problem, is what it is.
Right. And what people need to understand, and I did social media management for a radio station, which I'm not going to mention because I'm sick and tired of mentioning them at this point.
Oh, believe me, we know.
Well, I worked for a syndicated program as well, who I will mention this guy because I like this guy. I worked with a guy named John Batchelor, who one of the nicest guys in radio, by the way. And
you've said that a couple times.
What I learned, and I agree with him partially, is that they unfortunately will censor certain political figures on a certain side of social media. I'm not saying whether it's exactly him or not, but I'm saying it does happen.
To what are you referring?
Twitter, because we go back to the whole First Amendment. Are people losing their freedoms on Twitter? First of all, Twitter can do what they want, like we both said. So I've seen Twitter before. They will essentially shadow people, like shadow ban people from seeing what's on certain feeds of people due to political stature. Which
is under. But the people that was John trying to let me just get this straight. Was John trying to imply that conservatives and Republicans were getting kicked off?
Not kicked off.
Or censored
often? Let's be excuse me, let's be very clear. Not kicked off. Just that because Twitter has control of the algorithms of who can see what. You know this.
Yes, I know that.
That's what I was saying. They control some of the algorithms of certain people not to be seen due to certain political statures. You already know that for a fact.
Yes, I know that, but to act like conservative voices are, especially victimized, especially when you get left-wing voices.
I don't know if they're being victimized.
Nobody's being victimized here.
Well, I just said I don't know if they are or they aren't. I'm pretty sure they're not. But
I mean, you need only point to the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene still has her Twitter account.
No, she has one. No. She lost her personal.
She lost her personal, but she still has her official representative account.
Her government account, or whatever they call it.
Her government account. And she is basically 10 steps away from posting, the Nazi propaganda. Actual Nazi propaganda in German.
Well, I can explain that because when I was doing social media for the station I was working for and syndication for John, Like, I used to see this garbage all over social media that she would post. And you know what? Bravo! Twitter finally actually did something correct and removed her off.
But you know what it is? Also, Lauren Boebert does the same thing.
Yes. Yep.
And there are plenty of free speech conservative activists that are basically the same, but but in a suit, ass wipes like Mike Cernovich and
Oh, I've seen them all. I know.
his ilk, and what this is them gaming the algorithm. They're shit posting on Twitter because they want to drive the engagement.
Which is a problem.
When you dunk on them by quote tweeting them or replying to their tweets, you're giving them exactly what they want. You're shotgunning their message across the internet, which I would agree with you that people who take a political stance or any kind of political stance are being muzzled a little bit.
Well,
But the political discourse has become so fucking toxic that one side is advocating for genocide and the other one is and the other side is fence sitting and nothing gets done.
Well, the problem I would say, especially with platforms like Twitter. Now, for people like us, we know how to use Twitter. We're not going to violate people's rights. We're going to have opinions, but we're not going to do things that are going to endanger society like some of these people in the political world do.
Yes, believe me, words have impact.
Well, think about what Trump did.
Yes, again, this is I don't want to go so far as to call it stochastic terrorism because some account, but every account is different. Every person is different.
See, I want to bring up one thing, and it has to do
with Elon Musk, he seems to think that everybody should be on a level playing field.
Well, that's never going to happen.
Everybody has the exact same amount of influence, like somebody like I don't know, a dictator in some country has just the same amount of reach
as delusional.
I do. You do, which is delusional.
It's delusional. First of all, and I'm away from the politics for a second. You're telling me that Mr. Beast and say us can have the same influential. By the way, Mr. Beast is a influential YouTuber more from our generation than the older generation, who has 20 million subscribers on YouTube and has a massive following on social media. Elon Musk is saying that we should all have the same influence. It'll never happen.
It'll never happen. Besides, as a private platform, you cannot do these things.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I've worked with some of the biggest names in radio. You're going to tell me I'm going to have the same influence as some of the biggest names in radio? Hell no.
It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. And most of the traffic is driven by bots anyway.
Well, be careful with that. But I know what you mean. Yes. There bots
it was at one point. It was at one point.
You have to be very careful because they have rules now on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram that if bots get caught, you get kicked out.
Bots, but it comes in a lot of different ways. Bots.
You know what the sad part is?
Accounts.
You know what this? You know what the sad part is now? People will buy, and it's against the rules of Twitter, by the way. People will buy Twitter followers.
Oh yeah, they will.
And let's be clear, we don't do anything in that way, shape, or form whatsoever. I would never allow that shit to happen for our podcast network.
It's more trouble than it's worth, to be honest with you.
And it's expensive from what I've seen people do.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you.
It's not that we're ethical. We're just broke.
Right. But when you look at influencers today, especially, and we're going to get to a story at the end of the show about the TikTok generation, is people are so obsessed with attention, with engagement on social media that they think they have to keep going after the followers, doing the crazy dumb stunts. Do you remember the milk crate stunt we talked about way back, where people would run across a bunch of milk crates?
Yeah, and stack them up like a flight of stairs, and then just.
And some people died from that.
Well, I don't know if they died, but they
did.
Oh, they did.
I'm not speaking out of turn. Like, it happened because it's dangerous.
No, again, But it is weaponized attention. That's what it is.
Elon Musk is like almost like a figment of our imagination, is the way I think of it, where he just floats in space and he does what he wants, and then he complains because he's making so much money that he has to pay a lot of it back in taxes.
He's complaining. Yeah, he's complaining when he has nothing to complain about.
His life is like so, and I don't mean this in the way it's going to sound. It's so spectacular in his mind, and like from what we see from the outside, that he shouldn't be saying shit.
Again, but again, it's a case of a very rich person being told they can't do everything they want, and him being, you can't tell me I can't do these things. I'm rich. You can't tell me what to do.
So he's Jeff Bezos.
Essentially, he's Jeff Bezos with more familiarity of what memes are.
So the skit,
like he knows what it. I mean, if you talk about deck memes in front of Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett, you're going to get a lot of blank stares back. But Elon Musk would at least understand the concept, if not 100% grasp it.
No, I was going to say he's going to end up with Bill Clinton on a plane to a private island.
Oh, that's the other thing, because people have been posting the picture that he took with Ghislaine Maxwell all those years ago.
Holy fuck! I mean, like,
oh boy, that's a topic for another show.
I mean, but this whole situation with Elon Musk, it's like I'm reading through the story, and the Twitter CEO, who I can't pronounce.
All he needed to do was build rockets and shut up.
How do you pronounce the Twitter CEO's name? Because I can never say it. It's Parag Agrawal. Is that how you say it?
Agrawal, I think.
Said that Tuesday the company's board had conversations with Musk in recent weeks. He's both a passionate believer and intense critic of the service, which is exactly what we need on Twitter and in the boardroom to make us stronger in the longer term. I mean, don't get me wrong. His idea of the edit button is a good one, but it should have happened way before he said it.
Yeah, it didn't take a genius to figure it out. It didn't even take Elon Musk to figure it out.
By the way, Musk has over 80 million Twitter followers, by the way. Talk about influence you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
I'll tell you a few people that if they tweeted something out, it would literally change like some people's lives around the world. So Elon Musk is one. Oprah is another one. Justin Bieber is another one. Katy Perry is another one. Katy Perry, by the way, has over 100.
Another one.
Who?
Jennifer Lopez is another one.
But Katy Perry has over 100 million Twitter followers.
Exactly.
So she could tweet the letter Z, and it would probably get retweeted like 10,000 times.
Yeah, but maybe 10, 20,000 times. Mark Hamill just tweeted out the words Mark Hamill, and he got 10,000 retweets.
That's what we're talking about here.
He was replying to somebody who said Mark Hamill could just tweet out the words Mark Hamill. He'd probably get 10,000 retweets. And he did just that. Action, reaction.
Yeah, and I have to explain to people also. When you have a built-in audience, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
They'll let you get away with whatever the fuck.
No. Forget that. I'm not talking about getting away with shit. I'm talking about we want to get to a point where we have a built-in audience so that we don't have to like push all the way around the clock doing everything
to be able to do these things. But not every Twitter account is created equal. I mean,
and that's what Elon Musk, who's a delusional asshole at times, we could all be on the same playing table. No, we can't. We cannot.
He like I said, he seems to think that that it's unfair to conservatives, and it's just not that. It's just not that.
It's delusional. It's ridiculous. And by the way, he's got 4 times more followers than Joe Biden. 4 times more.
And Joe Biden is the goddamn president of the United States. So what does that say? Oh, God.
I mean, what's next? Is he going to buy percentages in Facebook and Instagram and?
Oh, I can guarantee you, if he could buy out Zuckerberg, he would buy out Zuckerberg. Which,
Now,
you're trading one cartoon villain for another.
now, I just want to point out something, and don't throw tomatoes at me when I make this next statement. If you look at all the CEOs who are in charge of the social media platforms, which way do they lean?
They tend to lean whatever makes them the most money. They outwardly
No, no,
are
no, no, no. That wasn't the question. Which way do they lean?
they lean more conservative, but they like to think of themselves as more democratic.
No, Dorsey's on the left. Zuckerberg is on the left.
Again, but that's a misconception. These people are not on any kind of political spectrum other than what makes them the most money. So if they are, it's the Jordan principle. It's
Yeah.
Republicans buy sneakers too. It's Republicans use Twitter too. The nut jobs use Twitter too. The QAnon weirdos use Facebook too.
And Reddit.
They don't care. They don't care. They are a fucking moral, which is the problem with a lot of these with a lot of Silicon Valley douchebags.
That's true.
We spent the 90s and a better part of the 2000s thinking that these people were going to save us from the archetype of the classic 20th century robber baron, that they were going to usher in an enlightened age of capitalism. And it's not that. These people are not your friends.
Actually,
they don't have your best interests in mind.
You want to know
more insidiously, they keep devising more and more fucked up ways to separate you from your own sanity and you from your own money.
Right. I was going to say, back in the 90s and 2000s, it was MySpace.
Oh, boy.
Well, and what do we call MySpace now? We call MySpace now the Predator Network.
Things were so much simpler then.
Actually, and I'll say one more thing because we've been on this topic for a little while. Do you remember Parler?
Yeah, I do.
Well, then, gotta love the internet crashing in the world of COVID.
In the middle of a good point too. So, technical difficulties being what they are, ladies and gentlemen, we will need to move on.
Well, I was going to say maybe Elon Musk did that.
Yeah, maybe he cut you off. Maybe he didn't like maybe you're dangerous.
Oh, these are dangerous? I don't know. Okay. Well, speaking of whoppers of a story, here we go.
So, I picked this story out, and because now apparently this story has grown in proportion a little bit, no pun intended, but apparently there is, for those of you who don't know, this is a class action lawsuit being brought into a I think from a lawyer in Florida and a lawyer in New York.
Of course it is.
Both saying that certain items on the Burger King menu are smaller than they should be, at least 20 to 25% smaller than they should be. Also, two should have 2 O's.
Oh, damn it. Don't mind me. I'm already in a frustrating mood.
It's a little discombobulated, folks.
There we go.
So, yeah, it's about too small. So, for those of you who I don't think I actually said this any during the show, but it took me a while to. Do you remember what year or how old you were when you first figured out the things that they advertised on commercials were not what they were?
You're talking about like when they did the Burger King commercials with the Whopper, or
not even just the Burger King commercials. I'm talking about toys. The toys that had missiles that could shoot at 30 feet in the commercial.
Yeah, they have to make
or robotic toys that could basically do anything.
A robot with the shooting arms.
Yeah, but then you get home and it couldn't do anything.
Right. Well, because they have to make they have to sensationalize everything.
When did you first start to realize that?
Probably when I became a teenager.
Yeah, that's right around the time. That's the reason why I asked, because it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize that, hey, these people are fucking with me. Because we watched. I remember this so vividly. We watched in my 7th grade home ec class. We watched I think it was a DVD about. Oh no, it was a taped segment on the nightly news that my teacher had recorded off her own TV. It was
That's weird.
a buyer beware kind of thing,
Oh,
where
God.
they talk about how they alter toys for commercials to make them look, you
Bigger
know,
than they are. Yeah.
look bigger than they are, and the milk in commercials, in the milk in milk commercials is actually paint, and the syrup in pancake commercials is actually motor oil.
Yeah, and the
And
same thing with the burgers and stuff. It's like it's almost like
yeah,
art.
yeah, it's food style. Yeah, food stylists, and it shouldn't have taken me that long to realize I was being screwed with.
But how do
But
they
when I
do the
saw that,
bite?
I was like, "What?"
Wait, but how do they do the bites of stuff when they do them in the commercial though?
Apparently, there's a way to do it where you're like cutting precisely, around the bite marks, where the bite marks would be if you actually took a bite out of it. But Burger King actually does. I think they actually do have a disclaimer for their burgers that that they don't actually look like that. Every time I think they mention the burger's weight, I think they have a disclaimer on the
Right.
on the screen when that happens. But this is a $21 million lawsuit,
What?
and not that I really don't. It really should go through, but I don't really think this has a chance of winning, because to be honest with you, corporate lawyers are piranhas.
Well, the reason I'll bring up one story, and I think you know which story I'm about to bring up here when it comes to corporate lawsuits, is well, do you know what I'm about to bring up or no? What a big case in fast food history?
Oh yeah, the coffee thing.
Yes. So for people who don't know that story, I don't remember the name of the woman. She was an older woman, like
Yeah,
70 or
elderly woman.
and this was before coffee cups had those
Caution,
cardboard.
contents may be hot, kind of
No,
thing.
but also the cardboard thingy that you hold the cup.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she thought it was smart while she was driving through the drive-thru to put the cup of coffee between her legs.
And I think it cost her like third or second or third degree burns around that area,
Yeah, it spilled over all over her.
which is just kind of horrible. But we were told, however, that this is basically just being frivolous, and how could you expect coffee to not be hot like that? But I mean, she did incur some serious damage, and the fact that the coffee was really, really, really hotter than it should have been.
It's hotter than normal coffee anyway.
Yeah, so it's always been held up as a corporate lawsuit, or frivolous lawsuits never go anywhere, but that one should have.
Well, she did it to herself. She put the cup between her legs.
Again, I'm not gonna. It shouldn't have happened anyway. I mean,
Well, the coffee was
there
too
should have
hot.
been.
The coffee was too hot to begin with. I'm looking at the pictures, by the way, of the burger next to the TV commercial one.
Oh yeah, the difference is like that, because they're supposed to look more appealing, because they want you to get one. They want you, after you watch the commercial, to say, you know what would be really good right now? A burger.
You know what's really funny? Also, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but Paris Hilton did a Whopper commercial. If you
Oh
remember.
no, it was the Carl Jr.'s thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
And like you see
Kate
her,
Upton too.
you see them do a close up, and it looks like she's taking a bite. Which, by the way, she would never eat any of this crap in her life. You know that. I'm just
Yeah, I
saying.
know.
I'm just making the point that
But
it,
again, they know how to. You mentioned algorithms before.
yes.
Advertising works the same way.
Oh
They
yeah.
know what they know what works on us, and they are going to play that instrument until their hands fall off.
I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but from a guy's standpoint, would you want to see a chick eating a burger?
I mean, in this case, I'd probably want to be the one eating the burger, but that's just me.
No, I'm saying if you have a woman.
Yeah, they know, but as men, as a collective, they think with their penises. So yeah.
Oh Jesus.
I mean that's the point you're driving at, right?
Yes, right. But I wasn't gonna go that extreme. But yes, that's the problem. Like everything is sexualized, unfortunately, today.
Yeah, and you know what? We as men, we're kind of easy marks.
That's true. I could.
We're kind of dumb when it comes to falling for that stuff.
But I'm looking at the percentage.
I mean, all you need to do is just have a pickup truck in a vaguely wooded area, and basically just have basically just the truck commercials are basically acting like, "Hey, you got a small penis? Get a truck." It's junk shaming people. It is, and it works like a charm.
But did you see what the actual lawsuit was? Which it says that it's representing singled out advertisement for Burger King's trademark Whopper, saying the entire burger is 35% larger than the real life version. Who the hell would know that?
I mean,
did you take a tape measure and measure it?
Yes. Well, based on the dimensions from that commercial,
how would you even know?
35 inches. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Wait a minute, they're not even talking about in inches. They're talking about percent.
They're supposed to make it look bigger, though. That's what advertising does. You're supposed to make it look huge and juicy and delicious because that's how you get people to want to eat it.
Right, but it doesn't mean that's what you're going to get when you actually know.
And believe me, I should add as a caveat, I'm not immune to falling for this shit. Believe me, none of us are.
The commercials are fake as shit, though.
I understand they're fake as shit, but you can't tell me there's not some part deep in your lizard, primitive brain that goes, "Ha! I want that."
But wait a minute. It says the suit, which seeks class action status, demands monetary damages and a court order requiring Burger King to end what it says are its deceptive practices. Excuse me?
They'll probably just end up, putting a disclaimer and calling it a day.
Wait a minute. You're going to tell the world of advertising to change its way of thinking.
Yeah, they don't. I don't want to be, I don't want to act as a spoiler here, but they don't work like that.
Yeah, so basically, if you change the world of advertising, then you're not going to be able to afford the food if they can't do it anymore.
Exactly.
People forget. They don't think about the business aspect of the world where, like, and my favorite example to use, and I've said this to you before, is free is not free.
No, there's always a catch. There's always something.
You, the customer, might get it for free.
You, the customer, might get it for free, but somebody's paying for it. At some point, somebody's paying it for something at some point.
And in our world with this podcast network, like we have Knack. We're working with Knack as a sponsor. Hi, Knack, by the way. And
hi.
What happens is we're working with Knack as a sponsor affiliation. They, if I reach down here again, gave us these nice bags, which we love. And I'm not even saying that to be fake. I actually like this bag. It's great. But
I do too.
This bag was not cheap, at least from what I saw. And they gave it to all our hosts for free. I'm being clear and honest with everybody here.
Yeah. But again, they took that loss in order to give us so that we would have something to help them sell more.
Right. Make sure you use code BEYOND, BEYOND, while you're thinking about this, while you're watching this specific spot. Anyway, but my point is, this is a bullshit lawsuit. We all know it.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. Moving on.
All right. Back to Slapgate.
Okay. Am I the only one who's really sick and tired of... I think it's run its course. However, we do need to give a small update.
So Denzel Washington. Now, people who watched it. I kind of watched it after the fact, like a lot of people did on Twitter.
Like we mentioned on last week's show.
Right. And so if you look back at the video, you see Denzel Washington after the whole incident happened. He's talking to Will and a bunch of other guys, and he basically weighed in on this whole situation. And didn't Will make a comment about Denzel Washington during the speech when he won the?
He thanked him.
But didn't he say like that Denzel said something about like the devil or something?
Yeah, when you're at your highest, here comes the devil to knock you down or something like that.
Which was a very bizarre thing to say at an award.
I mean, it makes sense in context. Out of context, it really doesn't. But
oh, here it is. Well, there's a saying: when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong. The devil goes, "Oh no, leave him alone. He's my favorite." Conversely, when the devil comes at you, maybe it's because he's trying to do something right, and for whatever reason, the devil got a hold of that circumstance that night. Washington said. It's a very open comment.
Yeah, kind of weird to be honest with you, but the what we do need to do is give a small update, because Will Smith did resign his position from between last week's show and this week's show. He did resign his position in the Academy.
I think he actually did the right thing, though.
He actually did do the right thing. He apologized for it. He offered his resignation, and the Academy took it. Now we're hearing that all these Netflix might be backing away from a project that they're doing with him.
Good.
Or a biopic that they are.
Why does he deserve to have positive notoriety when he does something dumb?
I mean, he apologized for it. Whether he meant it is another thing. When did we actually? Yeah.
Did you see what went viral though after that whole incident happened? Something that he taped many years ago. A PSA on violence.
Oh yeah.
I mean, are you stupid? Committing violence after you knew you had done a PSA on not committing violence on people?
I'll take what is irony for about 1,000.
So, you know why he did it? Because eventually it was going to happen anyway.
Eventually it was going to happen, but to be honest with you, it's going to blow over.
But wait a minute. Was this the, you can't fire me, I quit?
I think that's what it was. I think it was that he walked into the office and said, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. Your ass is grass, so how do we want to play this? You can't fire me, I quit.
I love like when you bring that up when we talk about it on Empty the Bench with sports, like when someone does something stupid or they commit a rape or they go on alcohol and they crash and they kill someone in a DUI. Well, you didn't get me. I turned myself in or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, you know what? This story is like, what is that thing that goes around on Twitter? This is over party. I always see that on Twitter. So Will,
something or other is over party.
I would say Will Smith is over party.
I mean, people. I mean, he did. Like I said, and I'm not going to mention it again. I understand. I understand the impulse. I would have gone about it a little differently, but that's just me.
Right. But I don't know. I'm just done. The Oscars got way more attention than it should have. If it wasn't for this incident, the numbers would have been down again in watch numbers.
Yep.
But I think they said at one point it hit like 15 or 16 million people watching at one point.
Like I said, it's a monkey's paw situation. We want more people to watch the Oscars. Not like that. Not like that.
And by the way, he laughed before this whole thing happened.
I know.
And I love how she put something out on Instagram. It was like some kind of like inspirational thing, but she turned the comments off on it so no one could comment on it. By the way, I hate when people do that. Like you're responding to something Chris Rock did, and you just turn the comments off.
I mean, you're not going to get anybody to talk about this stuff. I can guarantee you.
I don't know. I'm just tired of it all, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of award shows, Nick, entrance me on this.
So, I To be honest with you, completely honest with you, I really didn't watch the Grammys, but I did see that Silk Sonic took home Record of the Year, and John Batiste, he's the front man for Stay Human, and also Stephen Colbert's band leader. I think he had like 5 Grammys that night.
They did a tribute to oh God, Kyle's gonna get mad at me. I can't remember the name. Taylor, the drummer from
Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters, and
yes.
I actually saw.
I heard they did like an hour on it.
Yeah, they did, and that was actually pretty tastefully done. But yeah. So, hey, the people who won Grammys this year, people I've actually heard of. So, thumbs up, I guess.
Wait, so Silk Sonic, that's Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak.
And Anderson .Paak, yeah.
That's what they're going by now? Bruno
I'm a big fan of that.
Bruno doesn't do his own stuff anymore?
Oh, yeah, he does. He's just doing this.
Of course he is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Bruno is a talented individual in every way, shape, or form.
Anderson .Paak, too, is too. Yes. He's a great drummer.
Yes. I just found it weird that I wasn't hearing like Bruno Mars now being Silk Sonic.
I mean, but that's the group name, though.
It's just weird because I'm used to hearing Bruno Mars like individually. Actually, he's written a lot of songs for other people too.
And also I need to mention that the tribute to Lenny Kravitz was done very well.
Yeah, I heard about that. And apparently Lil Nas X was not happy that he was up for like 5 different Grammys and didn't get a single one.
I mean, yeah, they got a problem with him because they like him to be gay, but not too gay. I don't think the Grammy voters like that.
This is why
it's really not fair to him.
This is why I hate the award shows. Okay,
because he's basically just doing what Freddie Mercury did. That's just in a different genre.
I've heard him sing. He's actually pretty good.
I mean, I don't listen to his music, but you know what? Whatever you want to do, hey, he's doing something different. Who cares?
But I'm just tired.
He's changing up the aesthetic.
I wish people would stop with the goddamn politics at the award shows. Like, it's just...
what now?
No. I'm just saying, like, it's like we're judging everybody based on like political or stereotypical, like Lil Nas X, like you just said, or Billie Eilish, or just stop. Let everybody be who they want to be.
I mean, well, going into it, the Grammys are always they're an award show tailor-made to make me feel ancient.
Who hosted this year?
God, I don't even know.
I can't even. It's not even in the story.
Did they even have a host?
Oh God. I don't know. I'm looking it up.
Who was it? Oh God, who was it?
I'm looking it up as we speak. Oh, it's Trevor Noah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I like Trevor Noah.
Actually, I should have known that because they banned Kanye from the Grammys due to Trevor Noah hosting. That's not even a joke. That's real.
Oh God, it's still funny though.
Of course, it's hilarious. Anything with Kanye now is hilarious. Because
I mean, how far a man has fallen in his reputation. Well, all you have to do is just say his name, and you get people to start laughing.
Well, it's either they laugh or they go, "Ooh." It's one of those 2 reactions. I don't know. I didn't watch it 100%, but because I just can't stand the politics anymore. I don't watch any award shows, not just the Grammys. I don't watch the Grammys. I don't watch the Oscars. What are the other shows? I'm losing my mind. The Emmys. Watch that. I don't watch anything.
Nope. We're old.
It's not that we're old. I just don't. I don't want to watch old white men talking politics.
Yeah, you turn on MSNBC for that. Or Fox News. Or Fox News, to be honest with you.
But speaking of our generation, Selena Gomez says she hasn't been active on the internet in over 4.5 years.
Okay, so there's a good faith interpretation of this quote, and there's a bad faith interpretation of this quote. Which would you like to hear first?
I want to hear the bad faith. I like hearing the bad.
The bad faith interpretation of this quote is she's fucking lying. Because there's no way people can stay away from the internet that long. That it's like crack. It's like a drug. It's like a void that sucks in all matter, all light. It's like a black hole. It sucks in all hope.
Right. Okay. So what's
The good faith interpretation is she probably meant I stayed away from social media for 4.5 years.
I still don't believe her.
Which again, kind of strange credulity because she does have active social media accounts, doesn't she?
I'm checking.
If they're not on Twitter, they got to be somewhere else.
Nope, she's got a verified account on Twitter.
So are you basically?
Wait a minute. She quote tweeted something on April 4th.
I mean, is she saying that I'm not active in that other people are crafting my tweets for me? Like
wait a minute.
Like I have my communications team do it? Because that's perfectly valid. Just say so.
But it doesn't matter who, even if it's someone else doing it. What does it look like? It looks like she's doing it.
Yeah, but you could just say so, though.
And by the way, her account is getting a ton of action. She's got almost 66 million Twitter followers.
Again, which is kind of weird because that's how they get you. That's the endorphin hit. Oh, to have 66 to have 60 million of something.
I would take 1.57 million.
Yeah, I would take just 1% of that and I'd be happy.
We would have a following at that point.
Yeah.
Actually, I would take 100,000 followers at this point.
But still, yeah,
it's crazy. This is a load of horse shit. I'm sorry. For her to say that she hasn't been active on the internet over 4.5. How are you doing business then?
I really don't, because again, this really is more of an indictment of our society, right? That you can't exist apart from the internet. You can't do business without it. Believe me, I'd like nothing more. I'm on Twitter, and I'd like nothing more than to not be on Twitter. Believe me, I hate this shit.
Well, we need it to do our shows.
We need it. We need it. But believe me, if we could tomorrow transfer to a world where we didn't need Twitter in order to grow our following as a podcast, I would do that in a second.
I mean, I just think it helps in general because the way.
Yeah, again,
I'm going to sound like an old geezer when I say this
because it's the world we live in. But if we didn't have to live like that, I wouldn't.
I'm going to sound like a real old geezer when I make this next statement. Like I'm going to sound like I'm 70 or 80 years old. But I remember even like a decade ago when we literally had to take our resumes, send them in. Whether it started to be email, but we used to mail our resumes.
Yep, physically mail them.
Or we would walk to, or we would drive.
Walk into the interview with the resume in hand, and yeah.
Well, we still technically do that now, but a lot of times now they ask for them in advance, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, they do.
And now, the way you get discovered is on social media. As bad as that sounds. But the weird thing is, some of these people who are getting discovered on social media, they're doing some of the dumbest shit on social media. Getting drunk, partying, and like, oh, wow, we could put sponsors and advertisements on this thing. Come work for us.
At a certain point, it's like, I hate it, but I understand why I need it. So, but you can't tell me that Twitter's not a cesspool.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you because
but answer me honestly. If you didn't need to be on it, would you be on it?
I think just because of my curiosity, I'd want to be on it just to see.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. If I didn't need it, I would just try to quit cold turkey. I would just.
You can't quit social media cold turkey.
My account and get rid of all. Believe me, I would get rid of Facebook too.
It's really hard. It's really hard to quit social media cold turkey. It's not.
If I needed to do it, if I could do it, I would do it.
The problem is, and I don't know if you look at that's the way we communicate a lot now. Like
that's the way again, but it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't. Again, we do that because that's the world we live in, but it doesn't have.
What I'm saying is,
it wasn't like that.
People don't want to remember phone numbers anymore. It's easier to just
Yes, because this is the world that we live in.
And it's also quicker sometimes to contact people via Facebook.
Yes, I understand that, but this is the world we live in.
But if Selena Gomez,
I'm not talking about the world I'd like to see. I'm talking about the world that is.
right? But if someone literally came up to me and said, "Well, look, Selena Gomez hasn't been active for 4.5 years on social media or the internet," I'd be like, "Huh?" That would be my reaction. And by the way, it counts even if somebody is doing it for them because it has to be approved by them.
I'm just look. I'm not trying to stir shit up. I'm just telling you. That's how I feel.
No, I'm just saying that it's wrong for her to say that she hasn't been active on the internet in 4.5 years. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's a lie. It's literally a lie, and we all know that. All right. Speaking of what I was talking about earlier, the last story here. What is TikTok brain, and is it real?
So this acts as a very interesting corollary to what we were discussing just before. In that if you didn't need to be on Twitter, don't be on Twitter because it poisons your brain. TikTok, I can see, is working the same way with a lot of younger.
TikTok is worse.
I mean, I'm not on it, so I wouldn't.
I'm not on it. I see all the horrible stories it's causing.
So what do they define as TikTok brain? Enlighten me.
So when they say we're on social media constantly, remember when we first got social media, when we got Facebook, we got Twitter and Instagram, what was the problem people were having because they were doing what on social media?
Well, they were harassing each other.
No. They're constantly doing what when they're on social media?
Scrolling.
Yes. So remember how big of an issue it was, like in school, in classes, people on their phones.
You couldn't pay attention, and yeah.
So some experts, this is from the story, some experts think young people are grappling with TikTok brain, a shortened attention span caused by watching short-form video content.
I mean, the instinct to say it would be to say it's bullshit. However, knowing how insidious social media can be and how the algorithms are specifically, designed to work that way, to kind of rewire your brain to elicit the sort of Pavlovian response that gets them, gets them more money because you're using the app more. That I'm inclined to think of that rings more true to me than anything else does.
Well, listen to this. So it says this dopamine rush can make it harder for kids whose brains aren't fully developed to put TikTok away because it just feels too good to stop. It can also result in training kids' brains to make it harder to focus on other tasks. If you are conditioned to receive a dopamine hit every time you pay attention to something, when you don't get it, you're going to go where your craving can be sated. That's weird.
At a certain point, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to teach the generation of kids coming up how best to deal with this stuff, because being able to navigate that, like you keep saying, I said before, this is the world we live in. But that means we have to just take better care of navigating it. Like, I don't really like to talk about it that much, but the my little niece, she's she's not even a year old yet, but we're going to have to teach her. She's going to have to learn to navigate a world that's going to be very different from what it is right now, and in some ways it might be worse, because social media isn't going to go away. It's just going to take different forms.
Well,
you need to be able to navigate it, to understand what they're doing to you, and how to understand the things that are harmful to you, the things that they do that are harmful, and how to counteract it.
Right. And I was going to go back to when we were, it started when we were kids and it became worse when we became adults. I'm sure you've been to like a Buffalo Wild Wings a million times. Do you know what they have on the wall for kids? They're in little cubbies, and they bring
little iPads.
I knew that was
Yeah,
dangerous.
they have that at Chili's.
But I was just saying,
I'm more of a Chili's person, not a Buffalo Wild Wings person.
Oh, come on. Anyway, so I knew that was dangerous from the start.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely dangerous because you need to be able to, again, be careful about these things. But again, you've got an entire, subsection of parents whose solution to any problem is to, shove a screen in front of a kid,
Well,
and that's not going to help.
That's the problem. And actually, why do you think the generations below us are having issues with interacting with each other? Because
On the other hand, when we were kids, we had our version of screens, right?
but not like this.
When we came home, I don't know about you, but I parked my ass in front of the TV and played video games.
Okay, but that's different because video games go off eventually.
And watching TV. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
With computers and iPads and now smartphones, they don't go off.
It's wired differently.
Unless you are using your phone. I love this today. People will plug in their phones and just scroll on the charger so that they never lose charge. And they just do it for hours and hours and hours and they don't even realize it. That's my point. They look at the generations today, and now I understand the whole TikTok brain.
I mean, you have your nephew. What's his parents' policy when it comes to smartphones and iPads?
They don't like we allow him to watch TV, and he uses
now when you say we, you mean them or we?
Well,
As in
all of us, whoever's around watching him, but we don't. He'll watch for a certain period of time, and then it goes off. Like
it's programmed to go off, or you?
No, we turn it off. We turn it off. We take charge. We turn it off.
Yeah, but that's the kind of response you need to be able to be aware of and conscious of this stuff, because in a lot of ways I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying what you're doing, more parents should be doing.
Well, the problem is
you're not his father, but
right. But the problem is parents, instead of trying to figure out situations with their kids, it's like you started to say earlier. Here's a screen. Here's a phone.
Figure it out by yourself.
No, not even that. If I just distract them for an hour, I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. You're kicking the can down the road when it comes to parenting, and that's
by the way,
a bad idea.
At these fast food places, you're putting screens in front of people instead of having them interact with their family. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, am I sounding a little bit too much like a curmudgeon when I say these things?
No. And the thing is, like, and I admit that I do it from time to time. I take my phone out sometimes when I'm out. Like,
I do it all the time.
And
different is I'm an adult.
But the weird part is, like, and I don't know if I've discussed this with you before. I get annoyed because I actually will call people on the phone. I'm sure you've had, you know where I'm going with this. And people will reject my phone calls.
And then just text back and say, why are you calling me? Prefer.
And I said, because I don't like talking over text all the time.
First of all, my fingers aren't as fast.
Well, it has nothing to do with that. Throw that one to the side for a second.
I'm just saying that's where I'm coming from.
Right. But my point is, I'll pick it up. I call people. Call me old-fashioned, fine. But I like to talk on the phone. That's how I've always been. I don't like this whole interaction bullshit over Facebook, unless we're trying to do things while we're sitting at the computer and I need to talk to somebody while I'm editing something for our podcasts or whatever. But
being able to multitask, and you won't be able to do that without, you need your hands are occupied. So you gotta talk to somebody somehow.
Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll put the phone on speaker while I'm sitting here and I'm doing
I do the same thing.
But people get mad. I've had people say to me before, "Don't call me, text me." And I'm like, "What the fuck? What do you mean text you?" Like, you have to remember, and this is a big problem, and we'll finish up on this topic. And people misinterpret text messages, Facebook messages, because you can't read a reaction on a Facebook or a text message.
No, you can't.
How many times? And Let's be honest for a second.
Context is necessary.
Let's be honest for a second. I'm not going to go into the whole thing that happened with us a while back, but part of that was an interpretation issue we had.
Yes, and it's something that had had lines of communication been more open to voice, where intent and context and inflection can be judged, things would have been a lot better. Or they would have been a lot
Understood.
better understood at the time. Not that it's not water under the bridge now. I mean, everything's fine, but still, talking to people in certain situations, texting isn't going to cut it.
Because people will say, "Well, why did you say that to me for?" Well, wait a minute. I think you misinterpreted what was being said, and that's
they can tell when you're being sarcastic, if you're genuinely angry, or you're doing a bit or something.
And relationships are being separated due to interpretation of a text.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just friendships. I'm talking about like real relationships.
No, but it happens all the time, and we as a society have not even developed a workaround, but even realized that that's a problem. And the fact that we haven't even realized that it's a problem collectively it really does say something. But you know what? I don't want to leave you on a cynical note. So what I will say is this. We're all just trying to do the best we can. Look, the best that you can do is just to realize that you don't know shit. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing.
You know how we're dealing with the whole COVID nonsense? We're not doctors. We talked about this on a baseball special, which is going to be out already when this is when this drops.
When this gets posted.
But my point is, we talked on there and we said we're not doctors, we're not scientists. We don't know what's going to happen. It's the same thing with social media. We don't know what's going to happen with social media.
I'm just taking the available information and trying to use it to make sure that more people don't get harmed.
Right. And
whether I'm succeeding at that is something, whether I'm actually good at that job is, not for me to say.
And by the way, I think restricting is the wrong answer, because that's what social media companies are doing. Because again, they're not reacting. They're what was that term Johnny used? Instead of reacting, they're being proactive instead of
yeah. They're being reactive instead of proactive.
Reactive instead of proactive. Leave the blocks alone. People need to learn from real life rather than
they do.
If someone says something mean on social media, you figure it out. Don't
try not to take it personally unless they're stalking you. Then that becomes a problem.
Oh, that's what the block button is for.
Some people just deserve it though.
But don't be a curmudgeon, as I'm stealing your word, and block 2,000 people.
Don't be a curmudgeon, and don't be a dick. It costs you nothing to be nice. At least try to be nice.
Again, you're being logical, and in this world, logical doesn't always work.
Yep.
I agree with you. It doesn't cost anything to be nice, but I don't know. It is what it is. But all right.
All right. So that is going to do it for this episode of Beyond the Bench, brought to you by Knack Bags. So just make sure that you go to knackbags.com, and when you check out a bag, just make sure you use the offer code BEYOND to get your free TSA-approved lock. That's right. Free. Absolutely free. At checkout, use the offer code BEYOND, and then you'll get it for a $15 value. Absolutely gratis. And, of course, you got to get your Knack bag, because endlessly stylish, endlessly customizable, endlessly everything. So if you're going to ramble with Knack.
Yeah, really. This is a really nice bag. I'm not even kidding.
We're talking about advertising. It really is slick.
Like I've opened this up. There's more space in this bag than I've ever seen in a backpack in my life.
And in some luggage I've had, which is really saying something.
And you said a great story, and I know we're over, but I just wanted to say that you talked about putting cookies in a bag and put it in there.
Yep.
And it didn't do anything?
Nope. Didn't move an inch.
Incredible product, everybody. Knackbags.com.
See?
Use code Beyond.
Fodera tested, Fodera approved them like kicks.
All right. For Nick Fodera, I'm Nick Morgasen. This has been episode 24 of Beyond the Bench. Make sure you follow us on social media, on Twitter at Beyond the Bench 1, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Beyond the Bench 1. Also on Instagram as well, Beyond the Bench 1. Follow us on ETB Network. I said that out of order. Empty the Bench at ETB Network. There we go. I'm not delusional, I promise. I said I was Nick Fodera last week on Empty the Bench.
You'll never be me. You'll probably do a better job of being me than I do.
I don't know about that. But all right. We're going to sign off. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Good night, everybody. See you back on the bench.